The Weekend UpNate. The Weekend UpNate. Your weekly recap of news, current events, and trending stories. Let's do this. The Weekend UpNate with your host, Nate Armbruster.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Weekend UpNate. I'm Nate Armbruster. Thanks for listening. Hope everyone's doing well. Look who's late again. At this point, it's just going to be a regular thing. I think I said that last week too, but so far I am consistent with my lateness. One of my new working titles for the podcast is The Late Nate Show. Get it? All right, that was pretty stupid. I'll give you that. But anyway, we're back, and I hope everything's going well. I'm doing all right. As some of you know, a little side hustle of mine is I like to record stand-up comedians, help them produce their albums, right? So, I put mine out a few months ago, and I like to record and produce friends' albums when they need help. So I was in Hamtramck, Michigan last weekend recording a friend, Patrick Hasty, out of New York, who's very funny. I went into town this is the thing, I went into town for literally 24 hours. Now, I think this is what's happening with, as far as the podcast schedule goes, is I'm starting to do more and more road work or gigs such as this, right? So it really screws up my entire weekend in regards to recording a podcast. This was so much easier when the pandemic was in full swing. I say that like it was a season. Yeah, when it was so much easier when I had nothing else to do with my life. And now I'm like, oh, crap. Most of the time, comedy happens on the weekends. So it's making it harder and harder for me to record these on the weekends. And you can't really record them during the week because it's too timely. I got to think of something a little more evergreen. I don't know. It's not like any of this matters, okay? Because I don't even know if anyone is listening right now. So it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I went in to record Patrick last weekend, and I was there for 24 hours. So this was my weekend in a nutshell, okay? I went down Friday night. I drove from my apartment directly to the comedy club, which was the Independent in Hamtramck. It's a great comedy club. Check that out if you're ever in the area. So I drove directly to the club and recorded the show on Friday night, and then because it's near my hometown, I went and stayed at my mom's house that night. And then the next morning, I woke up, I had lunch, and then I went back downtown because I had other stuff to do, right? I'm also recording another one next week for a friend who wanted me to check out the venue. So I went downtown to look at it and figure out how things are going to go down. And the thing is, I didn't want to drive back out to the suburbs where I was staying. So I was like, I will just hang out in the city for the day. I thought it'd be fun. And it was. I decided to go to a Tigers game, which I haven't done since before the pandemic. And I like baseball. I like the Detroit Tigers. I haven't been in years. So I thought this would be a great way to spend the day. Go see a baseball game by myself. And I don't know if you guys have ever done anything alone, but it's my favorite thing. And I love my friends and family and people, like doing things with them. But it's so much fun to go alone to some of these things. Like movies, I almost prefer to go alone. Because first of all, you can't really talk during the movie. You're not supposed to. And when you're with a group of people, they will talk. Because it's just how people are. Why can't we just sit and watch this thing? Maybe I'm a little biased because I don't like people who talk during comedy shows, but movies, I feel kind of the same way. Like, no, let me just go watch this movie alone. I don't understand people who are like uncomfortable with that. And I think a lot of people would. If there's one activity to do alone, I would say going to the movies is the best one. Now, this is a Tigers game, a professional baseball game, and it's a little different. I mean, it's still a lot of fun. I like it because you don't have to answer to anybody, okay? You can go do whatever you want. If you want a hot dog, you can go get that hot dog. You don't have to tell anybody where you're going. You don't have to be like, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get a hot dog. This is the other thing, by the way. I didn't spend a dime at the ballpark, which is the first for me, Okay, I mean, I've been to plenty of baseball games. Usually, you end up spending $100 at least in beer and like one beer and one hot dog. What is that now? Like $50? It's absurd. So I was like, I'm not going to have one drink this whole game, and I didn't. I literally walked around, and by the way, I didn't plan on going to this. Was an impulse buy. Okay, I walked up to the box office and I bought a ticket for $29. Now, the funny part is I didn't have any. I wasn't prepared, so I didn't have any Tigers apparel. I wasn't wearing a Detroit Tigers shirt, a hat even. I went in what I was wearing because I had originally only planned to be in town for one day. I was wearing a pair of black jogger sweatpants and a white t-shirt. That's it, okay? And the weather was great if you're standing in the sun. It was a sunny day, but it was a little chilly, right? So I'm walking around freezing for a little bit because if I'm in the shade. So I found a spot in the sun out in the outfield. I'm standing, and I found a spot in the outfield, and I'm leaning on a railing for the entire game. I looked like one of the players' parents. Like, I'm just going to stand back here and watch the game. I don't want to talk to anybody. I had my AirPods with me. I even thought about just putting headphones in and listening to the game, like old school style, keeping score on the little scorecard. But I didn't do that. I just kind of stood and watched the game, which when you're walking around the ballpark in black sweatpants and a white t-shirt and you look like you don't belong, you stand out. People were staring at me, and it was so hilarious because everyone's like immediately like, the energy changes when I walk by somebody. Like, people are pulling their kids closer. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this guy. He's clearly not supposed to be here. And I already had an excuse prepared in case anybody asked. I was going to be like, oh, no, I left my jacket at the seat. I'm going to the bathroom or whatever. But this is how I spent my Saturday. I thought about buying like a shirt or a sweatshirt or something, but that was like, again, that was going to be like at least $60. And I didn't want to spend that. So I showed up, bought a ticket for $30 and didn't buy one thing while I was there. Consider this a win for me, okay? I literally stood there, watched the entire game, which they lost 15-2. So it's not like it was the best game ever, unless you're a Red Sox fan. But now here's where the day kind of changes, okay? Because while I'm leaving the game, you walk out and there was like a promotional stand for some new soda, right? Some new drink that people are just handing out. And these girls just go, hey, want to try this? And so they hand me a can of this stuff. And it was like, I already forgot the name, but it was some sort of soda. And so I grab one and I say, thanks. And I'm walking around trying to find, outside of the ballpark, there are like commemorative bricks with like, you can, like when they built the ballpark, you could have purchased one. I don't know if you still can. It looked like there's still room for them. But back when this happened, my dad bought the family a brick. It's got our name on it, right? And I remembered that at some point during the game, and I was like, I'll have to go find it. So I ended up actually finding it, but it took me, I was maybe looking for maybe 15 minutes because I knew the general area it was. But I felt like such a psycho because, again, I'm in this white t-shirt, black sweatpants, and I'm just looking at every brick while there are thousands of people walking around me, like trying to leave. But I look crazy without context, So finally, I find it, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting out of here. I start walking to my car, and I am not someone who likes to talk to strangers. I don't want to have a conversation. Like, if you talk to me, I'll try and be nice back. I'll try and engage in conversation, but when I'm not, like, I'm just not in the mood to talk to anyone, really. But there's just something about my face that says this guy is easy to mess with, Then that's a frustrating realization that I've had recently because this has happened multiple times. Someone will come up to me, ask me for money, or just mess with me in general. Like, actually, literally yesterday, someone came up to me asking me for money. Now, I knew this person because in Chicago, this is in my neighborhood. I know this person and I know their story. I met them once standing outside the grocery store where they stand all day with a notebook full of pictures of their child in baseball uniforms doing what kids do, whatever, kids' photos. And he tells you this whole story about his kid who was shot and murdered. And he's got this whole story. And now I don't even know if it's true, really, because I gave him money maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it was on Venmo, by the way, because this is what happens is they go, sir, can you give me some money? I'm raising money for a funeral. And it's this whole tragic story. And it very well may be true. But he got me on a good day. And I was like, you know what, man? I'm really sorry you have to go through that. I don't have any cash, though. And he goes, well, we got Venmo. Yada, yada. Of course he does, right? So we Venmo him $20. And immediately you see how many people have donated money because you can see every transaction, and it's Venmo. So you can't use like an emoji of like a coffin. You got to be a little respectful. You can't be like, sorry about your kid. I mean, it was a horrible thing. And it very well may be true, like I said. But the thing is, I don't know because this guy has been clearly asking for money for years. And now he's still doing it because he doesn't remember me. And he came up to me in front of another location and he's like, hey man, can I talk to you? And as soon as I knew, like, I'm still figuring out how to get that look down without, because in general, I want people to have a nice conversation. If you're talking to me, I would love to be a pleasant part of your day, right? Like if I run into you on the street, if somebody, even just general interactions at the checkout line at the grocery store, I hope the cashier, has a nice interaction with me. I don't want to be a guy that people go home and bitch about, right? I just want people to, have a pleasant experience when they talk to me. But because I live in the city, you got to have a sort of face that says, don't talk to me. But you also don't want to be an asshole. Well, I don't, okay? And there's plenty of people that do. But I would like to be someone who's nice, but I want that face that says, don't talk to me. And what am I going to do? Walk around with a scowl, like an intention? I feel like that's just obviously fake. When you're like, what the hell is this guy pissed about, right? So I don't want to look like an asshole either, but sometimes I think that's probably the best option because this guy, I made eye contact with him and I'm like, damn it. Because when I see someone clearly either panhandling or asking for money or who needs something, they always come up to me. And I saw them talking to someone else and immediately I'm like, we got to hurry up and pass this guy because I'm not in the mood because this was after the story that I'm derailed from, the one that outside the Tigers game. This is an aside, right? So after the weekend I had, I was like, I am not going to have another interaction with somebody who is going to ask me for something because the last one went so poorly. So this guy makes eye contact with me and immediately in my head, I'm like, damn it. Because he starts walking over to me and he has a notebook with him and all this stuff. And at first I was like, maybe he's just going to ask me to sign a petition. And in that case, I just go, I'm good, or I already donate or whatever, right? That's a hot tip, okay? If there's one thing you take away from this podcast, if somebody wants you to sign some stuff, and people think, like, I get it. If you're volunteering, if it's a political, like, ACLU or whatever, if it's like a political thing and you need signatures, that's got to be a tough gig, trying to get people to sign up and stand on the corner and just... But when people say no, you can't get mad at them, okay? Because you are annoying me, whether or not, because I'm walking somewhere, I have to be somewhere, everybody's going somewhere. So you're interrupting them, first of all. So don't act like, like, oh, you ignored me, and it's like, well, dude, I have no intention of doing anything regarding your, event or your, whatever you're raising money for. I had no intention to spend $20 right now, and I don't want to, and it doesn't mean that I don't support you or wish you well, okay? You can't, that's the thing I hate about that shit, because I'd have headphones in, right? I'm walking to the gym. Someone will literally wave in front of your face, and I'm like, I'm not rude. You're the rude one. You know what I mean? Also, like 20,000 people live within a square mile of here or whatever, however many people it is. So the odds of you already having talked to me and you just don't remember it, pretty high. So don't get weird when I say no, I hope they're listening. I don't know why. Now I'm just rambling. But this guy makes eye contact with me and he asks me, he goes, hey, thanks for not ignoring me. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? And he's like, he pulls out this binder and he's showing me pictures of his kid. And I'm like, oh, I know this guy. So he starts the story. He goes, man, this is my son, so-and-so. He was shot coming home from baseball practice, blah, blah, blah. And I go, did I see you outside of Jewel, the grocery store. And he goes, oh, that was probably me. And I go, yeah, we already gave you money, man. And he said, thank you. And we all went on our way. And I'm like, not to be disrespectful, but, if that's true, it's horrible. I'm sorry the guy had to go through that. And also, funerals are a horribly expensive thing. And a lot of people can't afford it, right? So if you want to, put a nice thing together in memory of your son, that's great. However, I can look at this guy's Venmo and see how many thousands of dollars he raised. And unless he's having the funeral in like Europe or something, if he wants like a gold casket, maybe he should keep asking for money. But a rough estimate, I think he's raised enough money for the funeral costs and all that stuff. So you can't really tell me, like, let's say it's true. You're still using this horrible, tragic story to, your son's death to, profit off of. And also, just because someone doesn't want to give you money doesn't mean they don't feel bad for you. All right. So forgive me for this rant on, but this is literally what happened to me yesterday. So getting back to leaving the Tigers game, which is where all of these thoughts started. This kid I see out of the periph of my eyeballs, the peripheral vision, I see a kid crossing the street coming over to me. Now, mind you, there are, hundreds of people around. Could have talked to anybody. And he picks me out probably because I'm wearing this damn white t-shirt and black sweatpants and I look like a moron, drinking my little free beverage. And he crosses the street and immediately I'm like, damn it, I know this kid's going to bother me for no, like, I just knew he was going to be like an asshole. And sure enough, he was. He goes, hey man, we're raising money for my football team. Do you want to buy some candy? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't have any money and I'm not interested in any candy. I didn't say it like that. I don't know who says, I said that the way AI would have responded. But, I said it like you talk to a 10-year-old kid. I go, sorry, buddy. Good luck with the fundraiser, though. It's something where I attempted to be nice, And he kept walking with me, and he just looking at me. And he then goes, hey, what's that? And he points to the can of soda I'm drinking, right? The free one that I got out like 20 feet away. And I said, oh, I don't know. It's something they're giving out over there. I said, you can go get one. They're free. Like, I thought he'd be pumped about that. Like any 10-year-old would. I would have loved that. And he's like, can I have yours? And I said, no. And then he grabs it. And now I don't know what to do. I'm frozen. Okay. Because he did the thing that you don't like. He would never just do that. And then he does it. And immediately I'm in this awkward position because we're both holding the can, pulling, and not like aggressively because I'm in shock, but I'm also like, no, what are you doing, kid? Like, it was more like, because it's free, right? I'm like, I can just go get another one. Also, I didn't really even want it in the first place. It was just a free thing, so I, whatever, but I wouldn't let go. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I have so many thoughts because I'm like, number one, is there an adult with this kid? And I'm, looking around and as I'm holding the can and he won't let go. Like he's refusing it. Like he's gripping it so hard, it's denting the can. Right. And I don't see like who or what, but I'm like, I think that person's with him and they're not even paying attention. And I'm like, I'm like, what do I do here? Cause like, I first of all, I was like, I should just let the kid have it. Right. And then I realized if he's bold enough to just grab a stranger's can, especially, I mean, had I had a couple drinks, I might have knocked this kid's candy out of his hand. You know what I mean? And then God knows how, like I don't know, but I froze and we stood there looking at it. He kept going, can I have it? And I said, what are you doing? Like, really, what are you like? And he wouldn't say anything. He just kept going, can I have it? And he wouldn't let go. And then right as I was like, okay, I'm just going to let this kid have it. But then I thought, if he's bold enough to just do this, he's probably also the same type of asshole kid that would then dump it on me because I didn't buy any of his candy or just throw it at me. Best case scenario is he takes it and he actually drinks it. And I'm like, good, go have it. I don't care, kid, but see, this is just, and so eventually he just let go. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? It was so bizarre. And this is the thing. It's like, it's a child. So what am I going to do? You know, like, I'm not a, violent person. I don't want to fight anybody. I don't want to deal with some stranger's kid either. I'm like, you are acting like you think I'm going to buy candy now? And of course I had to justify, like, I didn't do anything. All I kept saying, I was like, just let it go. You know what I mean? Just let go. And I'm like, but I truly didn't trust him to not like throw it at me because it was open. So now I just look like this psycho adult. I wasn't yelling either, but like it was a clearly weird interaction. I wonder if anyone saw this. If you saw it, call in, okay? Because there's got to be footage. We're outside a major league ballpark. There's got to be cameras. There's got to be footage of this somewhere. But God, it's like, this is the shit that happens to me. You just go to a game by yourself. You have a nice time. And of course, the one moron kid outside trying to raise money. Honestly, I don't even know if anything that kid told me was true anyway. After like the way he acted, I'm like, God damn. All I know is when I was 10, if I would never have done that. Okay, first of all, I just didn't have the confidence to do something that crazy. And second, like, I would have just anticipated, getting my ass kicked like an adult. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so bizarre. But my only option, because if, like I said, this kid, there's no way he wouldn't have messed with me even more, right? So I was like, I'm not letting this kid pour this drink. I'm like, with my one shirt, he's going to throw it at me. And then next thing you know, I'm stuck in this gross shirt. Like that was just really my biggest concern. It was like, no, if this kid takes this, he's going to throw it at my head or something. I don't know. It was so weird. And this is why I don't trust anybody who's out asking for shit, okay? You heard it here first, folks. I'm never spending a dime on the street again. Not on anyone's candy. If your kid, needs, if you need funds for a funeral, I'm sorry. I can't help you out. Oh, and by the way, I don't think you're a bad person if you don't give people money on the street, okay? Because let's say you do. And I've done it, and I've also said no. As long as you're polite about it. That's my only, like, personal rule, okay? Like, if you're a dick about it, then I'll be like, okay, that was a little uncalled for. But, people need money. I don't blame. Fortunately, I've never been in the position to have to do that. So I don't know, I don't know what it's like. But logically speaking, okay, I don't think if you say no, you're a bad person because, if I'm walking down the street in Chicago, every corner someone's asking you for money, right? And like I said, if you got my dumb face, someone's going to come up to me on every corner. And it's happened before where it's like, wow, 3 streets in a row, another person. Had I given them each money, it's like, well, now I'm just giving out money, So like, if you see me say no to one person, but 2 blocks ago I gave a guy $5, what am I going to do? Do I have to explain to you like, no, I would give you money, but I gave all that cash, all of my cash to the last guy who asked. So sometimes it's just a timing thing. So I don't know. I don't have any answers to anything. This isn't an informative podcast anymore. It never was, really. So this is just me ranting and raving. And, hopefully you never have to deal with some asshole 10-year-old strange kid come out of out of nowhere and then just try and, grab your drink out of your hand, and then hopefully you don't find yourself in an awkward, childish, like, give it back. Like, this is my life, people. This is real. This is what happens to me, I'm wondering if this would have happened if I just invited a friend or something. But yeah, no, that's what I get for trying to have a nice day. But at least it's like he knew. He's like, you're gonna love this for the podcast. It'll be a good story to tell everybody. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next week whenever the hell I get around to recording a new episode. All right.
You've been listening to the Weekend UpNate with Nate Armbruster, and you liked it, didn't you? If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Weekend UpNate. Bye-bye.